CNN host Jake Tapper is rightfully fed up with Republicans over their inability to govern and made that very clear during an interview with a Republican congressman. Republican Congressman Mike Turner appeared on Jake Tapper's weekend show, The State of the Union, on CNN. This is, of course, taking place within the context of House Republicans brutally struggling to pick a speaker, a rather simple obligation they are failing to fulfill. And after watching this video we're about to watch, I'll break down now that Jim Jordan is out, who is jumping in the race, and the specifics on that. But first, this clip where Jake Tapper asks Mike Turner, quote, "I hope you don't take this personally, but do you guys have any idea how clownish you look?"
I really hope in the next several days as we come together as a Republican caucus that we're able to resolve that so that we go unified to the House floor and deliver a speaker.
I hope you don't take this personally, but do you guys have any idea how clownish you look?
Well, you know, Jake, I'm very fond of saying that Congress is like high school, but even more so. So hopefully we'll get past this. And, you know, I certainly have been part of the governing majority, and I'm going to stay part of that and look forward to those who are on the fringes hopefully coming together so that we can get a speaker.
I said that to Congressman Womack last week, high school, and he said that that's an insult to high school students. It's more like junior high. Congressman Turner, Chairman Turner, good to see you. I hope you guys pick a speaker sometime soon.
Great. Thanks, Jake.
I have to say, good for Jake Tapper. Let them know how we all feel when you have the opportunity. Why not? Clownish they look indeed. By the way, what was that response from Mike Turner? Well, you know, Jake, I'm very fond of saying Congress is like high school, but even more so. Quote, Congress is like high school, but even more so is what he said. What? Congress is more like high school than high school's like high school. Also, that shouldn't be something you're fond of saying. Why on earth is that the case? Mike, you could help to make it a little less like high school, please. But what is going on with the speakership drama as of tonight? Let's dive into that. Jim Jordan, he's out. He was forced out by the party after 3 failed votes for the position. And now here is the list of candidates. Majority Whip Tom Emmer, Representative Mike Johnson, Byron Donalds, Pete Sessions, Austin Scott, Kevin Hern, Jack Bergman, and Dan Musser. Now, what is notable about this list of people? Only 2 of the 9 of them voted to certify the 2020 election, meaning the other 7 undermined our democracy and went along with Donald Trump's big lie about the 2020 election that caused unspeakable damage to our democracy. There's a piece up on LukeBeasleyShow.com that discusses this, titled, "Even After Jim Jordan, House Republicans Offer Extremists for Speaker," and it writes, "If anyone believed the decision by House Republicans to end the futile speakership bid of Jim Jordan last Friday signaled a rejection of extremism and a return to normalcy, guess again. Only 2 of the 9 next potential speaker candidates voted to certify the 2020 election. Only Emmer and Scott, merely roughly 1/5 of the poll, rejected Donald Trump's big lie to certify President Biden's victory." It's to remind people who may have forgotten that the vast majority of the Republican voting base still believe the 2020 election was stolen from Trump, even though, this is crazy, roughly half of those who believe that lie admit that there's still no strong evidence to support it. That poll is ridiculous. A majority of Republicans believe the election was stolen, but half of that majority, half of those Republicans say, but I admit I don't necessarily have evidence to prove it. That's what we're talking about when we say MAGA is in control of the Republican Party. The options they are choosing from for Speaker of the House have a horrible record on the most important issue. Choosing Donald Trump and his lies over our democracy. That's what they're guilty of doing, and over our Constitution. Pretty unfortunate, to say the least. Here's another moment from Jake Tapper's show yesterday where former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney and Jake Tapper discussed this very subject.
I mean, I guess Congressman Tom Emmer, you know, is the majority whip, I believe. He did not vote that way, but I feel like it's almost disqualifying among House Republicans to be reality-based.
Well, that's been my personal experience.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to, I hesitate to endorse anybody because I think that won't be helpful for them. But do
listen
think
to what you're
people
saying.
need to-
That's crazy.
Oh, I
you are
understand.
super conservative. You are more conservative than almost any of the House Republican leadership. You're more conservative than the woman who replaced you, Elise Stefanik. You're just not nuts. You're just not anti-democracy.
Right. Well, look, and I think that really is a testament about where we are as a country today. And we have to have a party that gets back to advocating those conservative policies, gets back to embracing the Constitution. That is not what the Republican Party is doing today.
And she's absolutely correct on that. So chances are, even though Jim Jordan is out of the running, which is good, whoever it is going to be a disaster, as I've been saying for some time now. Donald Trump also got asked about the current state of things, specifically about one of the candidates, Tom Emmer, and reveals that Emmer called him recently and said, "I'm one of your biggest fans, Donnie." Maybe not the Donnie part. An obvious attempt to win Trump over to get his endorsement for the position.
I have to ask, would you endorse Tom Emmer for Speaker? He hasn't historically been your biggest fan, but he is the most likely candidate right now.
Well, I think he's my biggest fan now because he called me yesterday and he told me I'm your biggest fan. So I don't know about that. Well, we're looking at a lot of people, and I'm sort of trying to stay out of that as much as possible. But they'll get it straightened out. But no, I've always gotten along with him, and I get along with all of them, really. A lot of good people. We have a lot of great people.
It's so pitiful. Tom, have some dignity. Have some respect for yourself, my goodness. Smooching Donald Trump's, this, is not something you should be willing to do to advance your political career. I know, yikes. Very sad. Another one of the candidates is Byron Donalds. He's only in his second term in Congress. Plus, he would be the first black Speaker of the House. But most importantly, and why he shouldn't be Speaker, is because he is incredibly dishonest and is, of course, an election denier, one of the 7 of the 9. AOC responded to Donalds getting in the race and had this to say.
So you mentioned your colleagues in the Congress. Before we run out of time, I've got to ask you about the House itself. You have no Speaker right now. The Republicans defenestrated Kevin McCarthy, couldn't agree on Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan. Now Byron Donalds, congressman from Florida, wants to be Speaker. What do you make of him?
He's only served one term in the U.S. House of Representatives. Last thing that he did in an oversight committee was attempt to submit falsified evidence to an impeachment hearing. I think it helps to know where all the bathrooms are before you run for the U.S. House of Representatives personally. And I think it helps to have some real experience in one of the most complex legislative bodies in the world before you try to run it.
Yeah, I think it's fair to want someone with experience to run the House of Representatives. But at this point, that's not even the most important thing. I think his willingness to be brutally dishonest is even more important. I mentioned previously his election lies, and then there, AOC brought up another really good example. In the first purposeless impeachment inquiry hearing into Joe Biden, Byron Donalds presented what he called evidence in an intentionally misleading fashion, cutting out the context of an exchange between Hunter Biden and Jim Biden, who's the brother of Joe Biden, uncle of Hunter Biden. And because he snipped out Hunter Biden's text message and presented it as if it was a conversation about business dealings, it seemed sort of bad. But then you realize when you see the context, it's a conversation about alimony and bills and things to that effect, which just demolishes the point Donalds was trying to make. Here's a CNN fact check that shows you Donalds presenting the text message in this impeachment inquiry, AOC catching him red-handed in his dishonesty, and then a CNN fact checker breaking it down.
This is about 4 months before Joe Biden launched his campaign for president of the United States, December 2018. The highlight is, this is a text message between Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was in a bad way, by the way. He was really strung out. If you saw a text message like this between the president's brother and the president's son, wouldn't you be concerned about them trying to give plausible deniability for the president of the United States to not have any knowledge of said business dealings?
What was brought out from that fabricated image excluded critical context that changed the underlying meaning and allegation that was presented up on that screen.
So the Congresswoman Abbey is right. Congressman Donalds did leave out critical context. So what were they talking about? Well, this week, yesterday, House Republicans released this text exchange between Hunter Biden and his uncle, James Biden. And the actual context shows that Hunter Biden was saying he's run out of money and he can't pay his kids' school tuition, he can't pay for gas and food, can't pay alimony without help from his father. And then James Biden responds that it's kind of vague language, that basically they can work on this, that he can work with his father alone, he can be a safe harbor. So anyway, the context of this is Hunter Biden saying he doesn't have money for personal expenses, his uncle saying, yeah, I can help work with your dad on that. There was no indication anywhere in that exchange that was released by House Republicans that this was about business dealings, let alone the foreign business dealings that House Republicans have been focused on. But Congressman Donalds did not release the Hunter Biden text message that preceded his uncle's response, and so he didn't allow people to understand that this was about alimony, personal expenses, rather than foreign business dealings.
What he presented was Jim Biden, and by the way, this is 2019, Biden isn't vice president or president, but Jim Biden is saying, quote, I can work with your father alone, talking to Hunter Biden in a text message. We, as usual, just need several months of his help for this to work. That's to Hunter Biden, like I said, which by itself, especially when it's presented as on the subject of business dealings, seems sort of bad, right? What is he working on Joe Biden with? But if you hadn't cut out the message from Hunter Biden, it would make a lot more sense. Which in the spreadsheet that he got that from, right there, it's right there next to it. So you know he was doing this deliberately. So Hunter Biden, at a horrible time in his life, doesn't have money, addicted to drugs, is asking his uncle for help convincing his dad to help him out financially. And he said, quote, but I can't pay alimony without dad or tuitions or for food or gas. Really, it's all gone. I can go make it up in 15 to 20 days, I'm sure. But he's basically made clear that he's not paying alimony because mom made clear that she won't do it. And the broader context includes Hunter Biden wanting to move in potentially with his family. There being issues with that, a bunch of family stuff. And so there he's saying that Jill Biden, I guess he believes, was influencing Joe Biden to say they aren't paying Hunter Biden's alimony. So then Hunter Biden's going to brother of Joe Biden, Jim Biden, and saying, hey, could you help with this? And Jim Biden's coming back and saying, yeah, I can talk to Joe Biden individually. We can work on this alone, excluding Joe Biden. Drama. Which, by the way, I feel icky talking about all of this. This is their private family stuff. A brother and a son trying to work together to get help from Joe. That happens sometimes. That's life. And it feels really weird diving into all these details about their private life and all of Hunter Biden's issues, which there are plenty, but we have to debunk it. Point is, Byron Donalds knew he was being dishonest and chose to proceed with his actions anyways. So with all that being said, I'm not really looking forward to seeing who they pick, even though I do, of course, hope they will be able to make it happen ASAP and get the House back to work. Before you go, don't forget to become a member at lukebeasleyshow.com/membership to get access to a daily bonus show, an entire bonus show Monday through Friday exclusively for our members. Plus, follow me on Threads at Luke Beasley Official, Instagram at Luke Beasley Official, Twitter or X at Luke P. Beasley, and sign up for the Beasley Brief, a daily morning newsletter summarizing the previous day's events by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/brief. I'll see you all in the next video.